ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। अश्रूयन्ताशिषा सत्याः तत्र तत्र द्विजेरिता नानुरूपानुरूपश्च निर्गुणस्य गुणात्मना. It was being heard here and there that the benedictions being paid to Krishna were neither befitting nor unbefitting, but because they were all for the Absolute, who was now playing the part of a human being. अन्योन्यमासितञ्जल्पा उत्तमश्लोकचेतसां कौरवेन्द्रपुरस्त्रीणां सर्वश्रुतिमनोहरा. Absorbed in the thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is sung in select poetry, the ladies on the roofs of all the houses of Hastinapur began to talk of him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. Save kilayam purusha puratano ya ekasid avishesha atmani agre gunebhyo jagatatmanishware nimilitatman nishisupta shaktishu. They said, "Here he is, the original personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge, as if sleeping at night, the energy suspended." स एव भूयो निजवीर्यकोदितां स्वजीवमायां प्रकृतिं सिस्रक्षितिम् अनामरूपात्मनिरूपनामनि विदित् समानो नुसुसारशास्त्रकृत्. The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, placed them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. Savayam yat padamatrasurayo jitendriyani jitamatarishvana pashyanti bhaktyut kalitamaraatmana nanvesha sattvam parimashtamarhati. He is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses, and that is the only way to purify existence. Savayam sakyanugita satkato vedeshu guyeshu cha guyavadibi ya ekaisho jagadatmalileya srajati avatyati nahatatra sajate. Oh, dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of the Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world and yet remains unaffected. यदा ह्यधर्मेण तमोधियो नृप जीवन्ति तत्रैष हि सत्त्वता किल धत्ते भगं सत्यमृतं दयां यशो भवाय रूपाणि ददाद्युगे युगे. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests his supreme power, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wonderful activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Aholam shlagyatamam yadokulam aholam punyatamam madurvanam yadesha pumsam rishabhashriyapati swajanmana chankramane na chanchati. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his bath and wandered in his childhood. अहो बतास्वर्यशस्तिरक्षरी कुशस्थली पुण्ययाशास्करी भुवा पश्यन्ति नित्यं यदना गृहेशितं स्मितावलोकं स्वपतिं स्मयत् प्रजा. Undoubtedly, it is wonderful that Dwaraka has defeated the glories of the heavenly planets and has enhanced the celebrity of the earth. The inhabitants of Dwaraka are always seeing the soul of all living beings, Krishna, in his loving feature. He glances at them and favors them with sweet smiles. नूनमृतस्नानभूता दिनेश्वरा समर्चितो यस्य घृतिपनिभिः पिबन्ति या साख्यदारमृतं मुहुर्व्रजा स्त्रिया सा मुहुर्यदाशया. Oh friends, just think of his wives, whose hands he has accepted. How must they have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Rajbhumi would often faint just by expecting his such favors. या वीर्यशुल्केन ता स्वयंवरे प्रमाथ्य चेद्या प्रमुखान् हि सुष्मिना प्रद्युम्न सम्भम्बस्तुतादयो परा यश्चारता भौमवादे सहस्रशः. The children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Samba, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jambavati were forcibly taken away by him from the Swayamvra ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings, headed by Shishupala, and other ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bhaumasur and thousands of his assistants. All of these ladies are glorious. एतापरं स्त्रीत्वमापास्तपेशलं निरस्तशौचं बता साधु कुर्वते यासं गृहात् पुष्करालोचनापते न चात्वपेत्या रीतिभिर्विधिस्पृशान्. All these women, auspiciously glorified their lives, despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. एवं विदागतान्तीनां सगिरापुरयोषिचां निरीक्षणेन भिनन्दन् सस्मितेन ययो हरि. While the ladies of the capital, Hastinapur, were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings and cast the grace of his glance over them. He departed from the city. Ajata Shatrupitanam Gopithaya Madhudvisha Parebhya Shankita Snehat Prayumta Chaturangini. Maharaja Yudhishthira, although no one's enemy, engaged 4 divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot, and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of Ashura's demons. The Maharaja did this because of the enemy and also out of affection for the Lord. Atha duragatan shauri Kauravan Maturan Sanivartyadridam Snigdhan Prayatsva Nagarim Priya. Out of profound affection for Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, who were of the Kuru dynasty, accompanied him a considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation. The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded towards Dwaraka with his dear companions.
Kuru Jangala Panchalan Shurasenan Sayamunan Brahmavartam Kurukshetram Matsyantarasvatanatha Marudhanvamati Kramya Sauvira Virayo Paran Anartan Bhargavo Pagaj Jatran Vatavo Managvibu.
Shanika, the Lord then proceeded towards Kurujangala, Panchala, Shurasena, the land on the bank of the river Yamuna, Brahmavrata, Kurukshetra, Matsya, Sarasvata, the province of the desert, and the land of scanty water. After crossing these provinces, he gradually reached to Sauvira and Abhira provinces. Then, west of these, reached Dwarka at last.
Tatra tatra hatatratye hare hari pratyudyatarana sayam bheje disham pashyad gavishto gangatastada.
On his journey through these provinces, he was welcomed, worshipped, and given various presentations in the evening. In all places, the Lord suspended his journey to perform even rites. This was regularly observed after sunset.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Pavani and Ekanshi. That was a very nice recitation. I'm sorry I joined in a little bit late, but that was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I hope everyone is keeping well. Thank you so much for joining us today in this Chat Plus session where we are discussing chapter 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. And it seems to me that we have made some rapid progress because of selecting few words at a time and speaking, so which is really nice. So today we will be covering 3 texts actually. So I'm just going to share my screen with you all. Bear with me. Can you all hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
great. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we are going to read. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is text 31. Evam vidha gadantinam sagira pura yoshitam nirikshane nabhinandan samite nayayo hari. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. While the ladies of the capital Hastinapur were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord smilingly accepted their good greetings and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. Text 32. Ajata Shatru Pratanam Gopitaya Madhudvesha Parebhya Shankita Snehat Prayungta Chatur Anginim. Translation and purport. Maharaj Yudhishthir, although No one's enemy engaged 4 divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot, and army to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. Maharaj did this because of an enemy and also out of affection for the Lord. Purport. Natural defensive measures are horses and elephants combined with the chariots and men. Horses and elephants are trained to move to any part of the hills of forest and plains. The charioteers could fight with many horses and the elephants by the strength of the powerful arrow, even up to the standard of Brahmastra. Wow, even up to the standard of Brahmastra. Similar to the modern atomic weapons, Maharaj Yudhishthira knew well that Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher. And yet there were asuras who were by nature envious of the Lord. So out of fear of attack from the others and out of affection also, he engaged all the varieties of defensive forces as bodyguards of Lord Krishna. If required, Lord Krishna himself was sufficient to defend himself from the attack of others who counted the Lord as their enemy. But still he accepted all the arrangements made by Maharaj Yudhishthir because he could not disobey the king, who was his elder cousin. The Lord plays the part of a subordinate in his transcendental sporting, and thus sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yashoda Mata for his protection in his so-called helplessness of childhood. That is the transcendental Leela or pastimes of the Lord, or pastime of the Lord. The basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotees is exhibited to enjoy a transcendental bliss for which there is no comparison, even up to the level of Brahmanda. Text 33. Atha durgatam sauri kauravan viraharaturan sanivatyadritam snigdan prayat swarnagirim priyaye. Translation. Out of profound affection for Lord Krishna, the Pandavas who were of the Kuru dynasty accompanied him considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation. The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded towards Dwarka with his dear companions. My apologies, devotees, a little bit tired because we were out on Sankirtan today. We had our monthly Sankirtan festival in Kingsbury. We were out doing book distribution with around 25 of us on door to door, and there were another 20 devotees on the street doing Harinam and book distribution outside the fruit and veg today. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So let's just look at text 31. While the ladies of the capital Hastinapur were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord smiling, accepted their good greetings and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. So, yeah, as I said, I had a very short time to prepare for this session today, just purely because it was Prayagraj Prabhu who was going to deliver, but unfortunately he wasn't available, so I stepped in. So here in this particular chapter, which is the chapter 10 of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. So just to give you a brief background as to where we are, a summary, so that you get an idea of where we are in the chapter. And then what we will do is we will look at from text 20 onwards some of the key points, because these particular texts are really a precursor of the previous messages which have been given in this particular chapter. So here we see in the first set of verses, which is from text 1 to 6 in this particular chapter, they are basically telling us about the kingdom of Yudhishthir Maharaj. They are glorifying how wonderful the kingdom of Yudhishthir Maharaj was in this particular chapter. And especially in from text to 1 to 3, you will notice it has been reestablished by Krishna that Yudhishthir was ruling the world with not just a mundane knowledge, but a perfect knowledge, a knowledge of material energy, knowledge of the spiritual energy. So he had a full um, helicopter view as well as a detailed view. So he was the right person to be ruling the planet at the time, and this was affirmed by Krishna in these first three texts. In the following next three texts from text 4 to 6, the prosperous kingdom, and it is explained how the Yudhishthir Maharaj kingdom was flourishing with various natural um, elements which are needed, the water, the jewels, the minerals, everything was very much available. And because all these things were available, all the citizens of the kingdom were extremely very happy. So in these three texts, you will hear about the kingdom and how the inhabitants of the kingdoms were so pleased with all the arrangements which were made under the shelter of King Yudhishthir. Then going down from text 7 to 8, after staying for, like it is explained that how now Krishna had stayed. If you remember, initially Krishna was about to leave few months ago, but on the request of Kunti Maharani and Yudhishthir Maharaj, he decided to stay back, right? So now, after staying back in text 7 and 8, it is explained that how after staying for a few months, Krishna now plans to finally leave for Dwarka. And then from text 9 to 14, how the descendants or the of the Yadu and how the devotees who were there, including the Pandavas and everybody in the kingdom of Yudhishthir Maharaj, was feeling unbearable separation and pain just with the thought of thinking that our Lord Krishna is going to leave and go away. So they were really starting to, although Krishna was very much there, but they were already thinking what would be the life without the Lord. So it is explained by our acharyas that sometimes it is experienced by the intimate associates of Lord Krishna, like the gopis and especially Srimati Radharani, that although Krishna would be present right next to them and he would be having various conversations or engaging in the various pastimes with the gopis and particularly Srimati Radharani, but often it was noted because of that mood or the potency created by the energy of the Lord, which is Yogamaya. Srimati Radharani would sometimes feel that Krishna is actually not there and she will start to cry. Where is my Lord gone? Where is my Lord gone? And although the Lord is right present there next to her, actually. So, similarly, in these texts, you will notice that from text 9 to 14 in this particular chapter, some details of that separation, which was felt by the devotees in the kingdom, was how they were feeling and how unbearable it was for them with the thought that Krishna is going to soon leave for Dwarka. So that was there. And then in the subsequent text, I think from text 15 to 18, it is explained that how musical instruments, the flowers, the umbrella, and how all of these things and all the brahmanas, all these things were there to create auspiciousness, and the brahmanas were giving benedictions as the departure of Krishna was becoming imminent as he was about to leave. And then the pleasing talks were offered, the Vedic hymns were chanted, like a proper farewell. How would you give, like if Krishna the Lord is leaving, you would want to give a great farewell. So now I want to take you to a journey from text 20, because the text 20 all the way to the text we are on right now from 30, 31, it just leads us very nicely, and it will remind us where we are, because in these particular texts and purports, Prabhupada is making some points which are very self-explanatory. I did hear a lecture with one of the devotees. He had a couple of points which I'll share with you, but let me just take you through some just a quick reminder of where we are in this particular section of Bhagavatam, and especially this particular chapter. So here we are. So you will see here in this particular section, let me just see what's here. So text 19 I covered. So now from text 20 onwards, you will see that how the prayers of the devotees, the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vedic literature, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And then Prabhupada mentioned that the ladies who were all absorbed in the thoughts and actions of the Lord developed the consciousness of the Vedic wisdom by the grace of the Lord. And therefore, although such ladies might not have been very learned scholars in Sanskrit or otherwise, still whatever they spoke was more attractive than the Vedic hymns. So this is the power of the devotion. You know, like today my wife played a lecture in the morning of His Holiness Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj. He was giving a short talk on 5 habits which he likes to contemplate. And as part of those habits, Keshav Maharaj was sharing with us that how the here it's mentioned that the ladies who were all absorbed in the thought and actions of the Lord developed the consciousness of Vedic wisdom by the grace of the Lord. So Maharaj, and here it's mentioned that therefore although such ladies might not have been learned scholars, so Maharaj was saying a point that one of his habit was first habit he shared is to actually sing. And of course Maharaj has a beautiful voice, he does such nice kirtan, but he was saying, I mean, he was humble enough, he was saying that I don't even have a voice, but he was saying, he was talking about us, that even especially for me, because I cannot sing. So he was saying, even if you do not have a good voice, you must sing some prayers, you must glorify the Lord, you must sing a bhajan. Something you should do in a day as your habit to connect with the Lord. And singing is very, very powerful. You know, there is a whole, our Krishna consciousness life is all about sound vibration. So singing really helps. So similarly, we see the devotion is the main ingredient here, which Maharaj was trying to emphasize. And here we can see this in these ladies who are not at all learned, but their glorification of whatever they spoke was much higher than the Vedic hymns. So here, that's what we hear. And then going into the next text, we see how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his part and parcel of the living entity, placed them under the guidance of the material nature. And by this is Prabhupada still speaking in the purport to this particular verse, text 22, that how by his own potency material nature is empowered to recreate. And then what happens after the recreation? The living entities are parts and parcel of the Lord. They are of 2 varieties when the creation take place. One is the Nitya Mukta, who are eternally liberated, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service of the Lord. And then the another kind of living entity is like us, who are eternally conditioned, but with a hope that someday a pure devotee of the Lord like Srila Prabhupada would come in our life, which he has in the form of his transcendental books, will then hand over us the holy name, which has been passed down through the parampara coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then we can perfect our life in that way. So these are quick recaps I'm doing for these verses. Let's just go down to a few other verses to see, and then we can come back to our particular verse here. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just trying to, I think this is better. Text 25, whenever there are kings and the administrators living in the animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form is manifest. It's explained that how Lord, he came, right, when there was the earth was put on a tusk and was taken, well, which incarnation, the boar incarnation of the Lord came, appeared from the nose of the Lord Brahma. And then what happened? There, that incarnation then went all the way and rescued the earth. So like that, the Lord appears in various many incarnations to save the earth and his devotees. And then in 26, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu and how virtuous is the land. So here, the glorification of the dynasty of Yadu, the glorification of Vrindavan or Mathura is given, where the supreme leader of all living being, the husband of the goddess Fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in this childhood. So this is the glorification of that particular land and the dynasty where the Lord actually appeared. Text 27 explains how undoubtedly it is wonderful that Dwarka has defeated the glories of the heavenly planets. Why? Because the inhabitants of the Dwarka, the queens, the various other acquaintances of the queens, they were all able to grace the beautiful smile of the Lord. They were able to see the Lord, they were able to see him walking, they were able to see him sporting, they were able to serve him, they were able to join him in the festival. So that is, I mean, that's the biggest benediction we can have. So you can imagine the glory of the Dwarka. He was able, because the Lord was able to glance on them. And then in the text 28, we see that how the Lord, oh friends, just think of his wives whose hands he has accepted, how they must have undergone vows. So the glorification of the various wives of Krishna is given. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain in the purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the commentary that how wonderfully the Krishna married so many 16,000, 100 wives. He married Satyabhama by, like taking her away right in the midst of the army of Jarasan. So many wonderful pastimes Lord enacted to actually win the hearts of these, queens. So these are wonderful explanation in this chapter. Text 29 then glorify the children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Samba, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati were forcibly taken away. The similar glorification of how Krishna took it away, in the presence of Shishupal. Everybody just kept watching and the Lord took away the queens. Finally, coming down to our particular text now, text 30. All these women auspiciously glorified their life despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of God, had never left them alone at home. So he was always present with them, always present with them. So now in text 31, which we read today, and 32, while the ladies of the capital of Hastinapur were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord smilingly accepted their good greetings and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. So it's quite interesting here. We see that Lord is reciprocating. Now, if you look at our current situation, the same thing can happen if we really take to the holy name sincerely, if we really take to the process of Krishna consciousness sincerely. I don't know how many of you had a chance to watch the video of His Holiness Kadamba Kana Maharaj, which was circulated on the group today, which was one of his last address on media, where Maharaj was speaking that take this seriously and take the holy name, read Prabhupada books, and how wonderfully Maharaj was explaining that this is just, I'm going and I'll see you shortly there. It was so nice and powerful video. Depending on the time, like to play that for a few minutes. Let's see if I don't know how many of you. Let me know in the chat box if any one of you have not had a chance to watch that wonderful video. It's a short video, 14 minutes, but we can watch some snippets for 5-10 minutes together and get that seriousness or the drop of sincerity and what Maharaj is trying to tell us to take Krishna consciousness very, very seriously. So the point I'm trying to make, if we take to the process of Krishna consciousness seriously, then the same glance is actually awaiting us right here, even in this life while we are practicing Krishna consciousness. This is the beauty of this process. Unlike any other process, it's very, very difficult to experience that bliss, what you would experience in the process of Krishna consciousness. So that's why I think we are very, very fortunate that we have this opportunity to take to this process and experience what these inhabitants of the Mathura was feeling when Krishna was leaving. So similarly, if we practice Krishna consciousness, we become so strong and determined, then we will feel the presence, we will feel the grace of the Lord. And how the grace is the Lord is felt through the mercy. Like Keshav Maharaj gave us he was giving this beautiful post over every day, pretty much, of Kadambakana Maharaj's health. And in one of the posts, Maharaj was sharing that he was just saying that, the death is just, and he's someone who's realized this truth. And he was saying that it is almost like, it sounds like, it's just, it's a phase, you're just passing through. But taking to Krishna consciousness is the utmost important thing for all of us, actually. So here we see Maharaj Yudhishthira, although no one's enemy, he was engaged for the division of the fence. In the next defense, it is in the verse we read, in the following verse, we read and understood that how Lord, although Yudhishthira Maharaj provided all the paraphernalia like the elephants, the horses, and it is explained that that kind of military power was not easily available. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, being the emperor of the planet, was able to provide all of this. But did Krishna really needed all of that? No. But there are two things here. One is, you see, and Prabhupada gives the example in the purport of Yashoda Maya that how, Mother Yashoda could actually, there was Krishna, he's the supreme Godhead, but the other Mother Yashoda took care of the Lord as his own son. So here the two things which comes to light is although Yudhishthir Maharaj knew the majesty of the Lord, but due to the curtain of the Yoga Maya, Yudhishthir Maharaj wanted to protect the Lord. Why? One, because he was elder in his age, as it is explained here, and he wanted to show that affection that, Lord, you go in the protection. There is so much of military and army. So although one may think, really, why is Yudhishthir Maharaj thinking like that when he knows how powerful Krishna is? There's nobody more powerful than him. So there are two reasons why he's doing it. One, he's doing it because of his intense love. And sometimes that majesty piece, although in Mathura, although going from Mathura, that might be prevalent, but it will be completely taken over, that whole aspect of intimate love. This is the difference. You see, the Lord is in Mathura, whereas in Vrindavan, it's very, very intimate. So Yudhishthir Maharaj was feeling that kind of intimacy. He was feeling, oh, I need to protect my Lord. He's going, let me provide all of this actually. And the another thing you can look at is Yudhishthir Maharaj was trying to set a great example, because when someone leaves of that kind of a stature, you send people, you send, like, in the previous ages, when a wife or a father would wed his daughter, he would always send few people from his house all the way to the house of the daughter. They will sometimes stay a couple of days to make sure the daughter is comfortable, everything has been provided, and then they will come back. This is our rich Vedic tradition, which has been followed not just now, like 40 or 50 years ago, but actually since 5,000 years ago. But now and more these things are fading away, going away, and it's gradually depleting, as we can see. So here the Lord plays the part of a subordinate in his transcendental sporting, and thus sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yashoda Mata for his protection in so-called helplessness of childhood. And that is the transcendental leela, or the pastime of the Lord. And the basic principle for all the transcendental exchanges is actually this. This is the rasa, this is the devotional service which the Lord is experiencing, and he's deriving a great bliss by this exchange actually, and he's happily accepting that bliss. So on his journey through these provinces, he was welcomed, worshipped, and given various presentations. In the evening, in all places, the Lord suspended his journey. So this, we are getting into the next text here, next section. But now I just wanted to stop here and make one point from the last text we read, from this chapter, which is text 33 today, which does not have a purport. Out of profound affection for Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, who were of the Kuru dynasty, accompanied him a considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation. The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded towards Dwarka with his dear companions. You see, a very nice lesson for us as a grahastha, especially living in a house, receiving the guest. So it is explained in the Vedic times that one thing is, like these days we have a guest, if it is cold, we go out of the door and we just close the door and say thank you, bye bye. But you see, our Vedic tradition is telling us that's not how you see off the guest. When a guest is leaving, you actually go out of the door, you open the door, you make sure you actually kneel down, help them with the shoes if possible, get their shoes ready, offer them some glorification before they go, thank them for their visit. So completely satisfy them as they are leaving. And when they're leaving, the least we can do in our practical way is open the door of the car, let them be seated, and see them off to the car and let the car go off. And or if not, at least if it is very cold, you stay at the door and keep the door open. You don't shut the door until the guest has disappeared from your sight. And here we see what is happening. They went almost half the way, some of the Pandavas, with Krishna to see him off. Look at how beautiful our Vedic tradition is and how personal it is. And unfortunately, today we live in the world where things are so impersonal. We don't even get up from our couch. We may have a plate of prasadam or whatever. Well, prasadam is slightly not a good example, because if you're having prasadam, you're honoring prasadam. You can excuse yourself, but request somebody else to see the guest off. But most of the times it can be out of our laziness. I'm just happy sitting in the couch. I've had worked hard. I've served these guests. Now they've left the living room. Let me just relax. No, that's not what our rich tradition is all about. We should see off the guest in a very, very nice way. And we see how wonderfully Krishna is being seen off here. And Krishna, everything in Bhagavatam is actually such an example which has been taught to us as a grahasthas. So that's really some of the points. I thought the summary till now will help us understand where we are in this particular section, and some points from these verses. and I will stop here to see if anybody has any questions or reflections. And then if we get 5-10 minutes, we can watch some snippets of that video. Let me know how many of you have not watched that video of Kadam. If you all have watched, then we won't watch it. Any reflections or questions or comments from so far?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna, Indulekha Mataji. Nice to see
Hare
you.
Krishna. Nice to hear you, see you also. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Here you are pointing at some very vital points, like when guests come up at our place, how we should behave when they are leaving. So nowadays, people don't even like when guests go to their place. So as, isn't it true, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
So even they became a movie like Atiti Kab Jaoge, something like that. I haven't watched it, but I heard about it. Yes, but Prabhuji, even if we don't like being Vaishnavas, we should welcome. We should always welcome, and we should know that Paramatma is in the heart of that individual. It doesn't matter, and we have to do Atiti Devo Bhava. We should take the guest as God has come to our place and receive that person. And as we said while living, you give a very good example of what we should be doing. Even if we live in cold Canada or UK or anywhere, we should always respect and then give respect and see them off. Very nice example you're setting. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I'm just reminding myself, Mataji, I'm not the best example, but at least I try to go to the door and stay on the door. My wife often reminds me of this actually, and there's many devotees follow this actually, and these are the simple etiquettes which are our real abhushan, or the real decoration, or of a devotee. Apart from the Vaishnav tilak and all of these things, these are the basic etiquettes which we should really try to live by. And ISKCON as a movement, Prabhupada always wanted us. And I think there are some really hidden lessons in the Bhagavatam. We can read a verse and a purport and just go through next. But if we contemplate on this particular verse of how all the, some of the Pandavas, they actually came with Krishna almost halfway. And, it's like, wow, that is something special. Of course, that's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we also hear from our Vedic history. Prabhupada gives an example of Chanakya Pandit many times, and we hear that, okay, of course, Vaishnavas should really be well received and well sent off. Send off should be given. However, even if somebody comes uninvitedly at your home, you should really treat them as a guest, like how you mentioned the word Atiti, Deva Bhava. So they are like a devta. They've come to your house, and so it's a great opportunity to serve. But yes, it is becoming increasingly very, very difficult because of the hectic schedules we all live in. But the least we can do, it is explained very nicely. Prabhupada explains, I think, elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, and gives examples in few places, that when a guest comes, if you do not have any facility, at least offer them a place to sit. And if you do not even have a place for them to sit, at least say some nice words to glorify them and thank them for coming. Offer them some water actually, after, if you're able to, if you have water. But even if you don't have seat, you don't have water, say something nice that they have come, glorify them. So these are some nice basic etiquettes which we can try to follow and live by, and that's what the devotional life is actually all about. So yeah, thank you for sharing that reflection, Mataji.
Also, we get the experience, we get the example of Krishna himself when Sudama was leaving his place from Dwarka, going back to Padarpur. Lord Krishna was following him until Sudama had to say, okay, if you have to go, give him take a vow that you have to go now. So he set the example himself, right?
Yes, Mataji, absolutely. You did. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Hare Krishna. Any other reflections or questions for devotees? Okay. Let's see if there is any reflections here. Okay. Right. Let me see if I have the video of Kadambakana Maharaj, which came up today, and I can share it with you all, and we can play it. It was circulated in few places. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Oh, there we go. I found it, I think. No, not this one. One second. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal. Last message. I got it. There we are. So we may watch it snippet. I'll share it and then you can watch it later, devotees.
Om Agyanatimirandasya Ganandana Salakya Saksur Minitam Tasmai Sigurave Namaha Bancha Kalpatrubhyacha Kripa Sindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Once
I'm going to forward
Maharaj
it a little bit
Pariksit,
so that we get to the...
none other than Kali personified. Kali, instead of fighting, immediately fell at the feet of the king like a subordinate, not ready to fight. Maharaj Pariksit took full action and said Kali could not stay in the kingdom. Kali said, what will I do? I took shelter. I am Praja. I exist. I've taken birth. I need to exist somewhere. Where can I exist? Maharaj Pariksit said, you can stay in 4 places. There where there is gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, and intoxication. There was no such place. Kali couldn't find such a place, so came back and said, where will I stay? Then Maharaj Pariksit said, okay, you can stay where gold is stored. From this 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada phrased the 4 regulative principles, which he formally introduced for his followers. As Srila Prabhupada was preaching to the modern world, he spelled it out, what to follow to become free from the influence of the age of Kali. Then Mahaprabhu gave the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name, and not only that, Katanchana smite asmin duskaram sukaram bhavet. He also added his mercy and made what is difficult easy. And so, the fundamental tenets of Krishna consciousness for the modern world took shape. 16 rounds minimum and 4 regulative principles. You all are the fortunate people, because you all came in touch with transcendental knowledge and with Vaishnavas. And as a result, you took up this process of sadhana bhakti, chanting Hare Krishna and following 4 regulative principles. Who in this world is prepared to live like that? But by Srila Prabhupada's and his followers' inspiration, we were ready. You were ready. You became the heroes. You are walking a heroic path, most glorious. Everything is blessed on the way. Nothing could be better. What a wonderful life have you been given. So I am very glad that I could be instrumental to inspire you to remain on that path. And through my written, recorded words, recorded kirtan, and all else that remains behind, through the memories in your heart, I will continue to inspire you to stay on this path, through thick and thin. When all is blissful, when all is struggle, do not waver. It is, you got the greatest treasure. Never forget. Nowhere in this world is there such wealth. The wealthiest man in the world is a pauper. You have the real wealth. Treasure it, relish it, cherish it, hold it close. Hold it close. Don't become slack, neglectful. Hold it close. Chant every day. Hear every day. Carve these principles in stone. Let them be there every day. And your life will be wonderful. And at the end, go back to Godhead, and we can physically reunite and celebrate there like we never celebrated before. So looking forward to the great, great festival that is to come, where all of us will together and celebrate to another dimension, where the bliss will rise to levels never seen, never heard of. That time is not far away. Life is short. Prabhupada said, just give this one life to me. Please do that. Just give it. And everything will become most amazing. I'm saying goodbye to you for just a short time. For when we will be, I'll stay with you in my words and memories. I'll be with you on the path. And I'm waiting for you on the other end to meet you again in person. Soon, soon, miracles will happen. Soon, we will see love. We will see bliss. We will see fulfillment beyond our imagination, beyond our expectation. Remember Dhruva, when he met the Lord, all his previous expectations, he said, they're like broken pieces of glass. You gave me jewels. All we ever desired were broken pieces of glass. The Lord will give us jewels. Oh, stay on the path. Don't get lost. Come quickly. Let us join this festival of Krishna, the festival of unlimited, ever-growing love. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna. I hope everybody felt very inspired, enlivened, and ecstatic after hearing those instructions of Maharaj. It may all seem that he's actually speaking to his disciples, but that's not the case. He's speaking to all of us because he's referring to all those who have joined this path given to us by Prabhupada are very, very fortunate actually. And how nicely Maharaj sums up that if you think of it from the eternity time, the time we are in is very, very insignificant. It's a very, very short time. So if we make and give this life to Srila Prabhupada, then very soon we'll be where Maharaj is in the spiritual world. So yeah, I certainly felt very enlivened, very inspired. I personally have not had many interactions with Maharaj, but one thing I have had is a one small interaction when I went to see Maharaj in relation to book distribution, Maharaj was very happy. He said, "This is so much Prabhupada wanted that Bhagavatam's sets to be distributed," and he really encouraged me doing this service with my whole heart and soul, and cooperating and working with Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj, who was then Sutapa. He was about to get sannyas next day when I met him the day before, actually. And then he shared a very powerful instruction. Somebody asked him in Radhadesh, a very good friend of mine, Rasika Rai Prabhu, very young, enthusiastic, and someone asked him that, Maharaj, what can we do to please you? Maharaj said, you want to please me, then try to make sure that a Bhagavatam set goes out in every home, because Prabhupada said every respectable person should have a set of Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita in their home. So I've had a very small amount of time, have collected these couple of gems with me. And today when we went out on door to door and the sacred street party, the devotees really felt the presence of Maharaj, because he was a real Sankirtan warrior. He went, he stretched, he did everything actually, because he went above and beyond to please Srila Prabhupada, his spiritual master. And what a glorious life and what a glorious departure, actually. So today we make a prayer that, dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, if you so desire, then let this life of His Holiness Kadambakana Maharaj become a very important, significant event in our life of His glorious life and as well as His passing away. And we may take a drop of that seriousness, sincerity, and strictness Maharaj had in his life and try to imbibe the mood and the spirit of service he had and the dedication he had towards the mission of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in spreading the Krishna consciousness as wide as possible, as far as possible. That we take seriously his instructions about chanting the holy name every day, hearing transcendental vibration every day, reading Srila Prabhupada books every day, following the 4 regularity principles every day, and trying to share this Krishna consciousness with others in the best of our capacity, and thereby making our life successful. Thank you for considering our request, Maharaj, and all the various acharyas and our entire Guru Parampara, all the way to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Those of you who agree with this prayer, either in part or whole, kindly unmute and say Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji for
Thank
very
you,
nice time.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Panchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhe vacha patitanam
Vaishnavi Namo Namaha.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Govinda Gopi Mataji. Nice to see you. My obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you. Thank you so much for us. It's so encouraging. Thank you.
Encouraging is Kadambakana Maharaj. I simply played his video, and Mataji, we are just parrots. We repeat. But what a glorious life. I just pray that one day we could become sincere, like a tiny drop of sincerity how Maharaj had. If we could have it, it'll be nice.
He's
Thank
out
you
of
so much.
breath, but he's still telling us what we should do.
Exactly,
How wonderful.
exactly. The whole life is dedicated to the mission of Mahaprabhu. You can just see it. Every single breath as you're saying it, Mataji, all the way to the
Yeah.
end. As the
All
devotee
glories,
was
all
telling
glories.
when the kirtan was going on, he was just few minutes before the soul departed, his fingers were still going on like this on the bed.
Jai.
So
Jai.
it's really nice. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thank
night.
you.
We'll see
Hare
you soon.
Krishna.
Krishna's
Cheers.
mercy. Hare
Haribol.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.